Welcome back to Deep Dive Dialogues. I'm your host, Dan Warheide. And before I get started, I'm just going to say I'm using the Shure MV7 Plus. And the reason I say that is because now I'm really curious. Apparently, they have changed lawn days in our community, and the time I have scheduled to record this episode, our lawn guys decided that they want to be outside blowing and weed eating and whatever else to make as much background noise as possible. So I'm going to find out if that comes through today. Anyway, I'm so excited. This past week, I offered a free email challenge. Over 7 days, I facilitated this daily challenge that included reflection questions and action steps for people to work on. And I also provided various resources to accompany each day's challenge. And I want to say this wasn't your usual workbook activity or some sort of guided review. I think many of you can relate to what I'm talking about. You sign up for a challenge and it's a simple review, essentially, of something you might have already learned or gone through. It was much more than that. It was more about finding clarity and building connection and intentionally taking actions. The stories and the breakthroughs that have come out of this past week that were shared with me, I have found incredibly rewarding for me as a facilitator, and rewarding just to see the actions and oh my goodness, the reflections and the different clarity or clarifying moments that people chose to share with me. It's been just an amazing feeling. Listen, if you've ever been stuck, if you're unsure about your next steps, or you're overwhelmed by all the what ifs of building your coaching business, then I'm going to say that this episode is for you, because we're going to talk about what worked, the challenges that came up that participants chose to share with me, and the lessons that you can take to move your own business forward. If you're interested in learning more about what was included in this challenge, I'm putting together sort of a summary PDF that has all of the daily questions, the challenges, and the resources that I shared. And I hope to have that available later this week. So if you'd like to get a copy of that, feel free to email me, dan@danw.us, and put email PDF in the subject line. As soon as it's ready, I will be sure to send a copy of that out to you. I hope that you'll stick around also to the end of this episode, because I'm going to share a little something new that I've put together, and I hope you'll stay to hear what that's all about. But before I get there, wow, I need to learn to talk for a podcast, don't I? Before I get there, I just want to cover the content that I intended to deliver in this particular episode. So, again, I want to start with just taking a moment to celebrate the incredible wins that came out of this challenge based on what was shared with me throughout the week. Some of the participants shared, emailed me that they were able to connect with new clients. Others had gained clarity in their niches, and many of them took their first steps towards being able to confidently price their coaching programs. One participant shared, for example, that she had been challenged with networking with her peers or other coaches, and she challenged herself during this past week to network with 5 new coaches within the community that we are both a part of. Not only did she do that, but she ended up connecting with 5 more coaches unexpectedly. Another one shared that they had realized completing a certification that they had previously started could open the door to being able to serve new clients in a whole new way that actually felt more aligned with where she wanted to serve. There were breakthroughs in defining their big whys, identifying their next steps, and more importantly, this one I loved, is finally feeling alive with my vision for my coaching and my business. That was one that was shared with me, and I really loved that. But all in all, I think that the stories the wins, the next steps and breakthroughs that were shared with me really lend themselves well to show that success really isn't about trying to do everything all at once, but being able to build momentum one small step, one small win at a time. So take a moment and think about this for a second. What is one small step that you can take today that aligns with your vision? It doesn't have to be perfect. The key is it just has to move you forward. So I'll say that, this past week was a journey for many of the participants as they've shared with me, but that doesn't mean it was also without challenges. And I don't mean any pun by that, because it was a free challenge that I conducted by email, but it did have its own set of challenges. Here's some that were shared with me throughout the week. Some of the participants stated that they were struggling with pricing, and I sort of alluded to this, and I'm going to come back to this in a minute as well, but feeling that they're unsure about what to charge for their services as compared to what their services are worth or how much value that they bring. And I think this is a common challenge or struggle for many people who are new to the business of coaching. Now, I don't like the phrase new coach, because too often I've heard someone say that they are a new coach. Yet in the statements that precede or follow, they talk about the tremendously valuable experiences that lend themselves well to the world of coaching, simply because they've just decided to start coaching as a business, or formally coaching as a means to serve other people. Or maybe they've just obtained some certification for coaching, or even working on obtaining a certification. It seems that when they get to this place, they somehow forget all of the value that they already bring to the table. And it's like their confidence is instantly diminished for some reason. And I want to, if you've ever felt that way, I just want to take a second to encourage you, because you do already possess a world of value. And simply because you have taken the next step towards pursuing your dream, I think the biggest thing is that it's new to you. It's new to anyone who is moving outside of the known for something in the unknown, because, when you move into self-employment, you don't know exactly how much or when that next check is going to be. But you can do things to align yourself well where that becomes a bit more predictable. And that's probably a different conversation. But I digress. I was really here sharing about the challenges or the struggles that some of the participants shared with me. So I want to come back to this pricing conversation and the value conversation in a few minutes. Some of the participants shared with me that, their pricing was a big challenge. And I get that. You want to help everyone. And at the same time, I think you need to recognize your value and that your time is not infinite. Your time is finite. So I believe that there are ways to serve many of the people that you're passionate about serving, but you have to first recognize that you need to honor yourself and the business of coaching to create a sustainable, see, I can't talk today, but create a sustainable income from our coaching so that you can get creative in the other ways that you can serve other people. And I'm talking specifically about those who don't necessarily meet the criteria that you've set out for your programs or your offers or your price point. Maybe they can't afford to pay for your coaching right now. And there are creative ways that you can share with them, but you first need to serve yourself. So other participants had shared with me that, they had struggled with the fear of visibility, being able to put themselves out there and simply connecting with people, especially when it came to potential clients. They said it felt daunting. And of course, that ties right into the imposter syndrome, so to speak. And there's been some conversations that I've been studying around the fact, not the fact, I wouldn't say it's a fact, but the idea that imposter syndrome doesn't really exist. It was a phrase coined in the world of psychology, but there are arguments that imposter syndrome isn't the syndrome itself, that there are other things that feed that, and the name that they've given it is called imposter syndrome. That's a different conversation as well. But questions like, am I good enough? Do I need to get another certification before I can call myself a coach? And let me tell you, I was taking a course over this past week online that someone had sent to me, and it was only $25. So I thought I'd just check it out. It was actually a really good course by a coach in the UK, and he follows a lot of the same philosophies, that being those of Rich Lidfin and Steve Chandler, in how he approaches coaching and marketing and some of the other things that I've talked about here. But I was taking this course, and that's one of the things he mentioned in there I thought was intriguing, that he didn't have the requirements that would allow him to participate in group discussions with ICF communities, as an example. So he's not certified by the ICF. I don't know what other certifications he may or may not have. He didn't really talk about his certifications, nor did I hear anyone, and he was doing a recording of a live training he had offered, and I didn't hear anyone asking about his certifications. And that's been my experience too. You know, I've been doing this since officially I got my first coaching certification, if you will, in 2010. That's when I first dove into the world of financial coaching. I went and trained with the Ramsey Solutions community and Dave Ramsey as a financial coach. And I from that point on, I've been coaching in some way, shape, or form, you know, officially and unofficially. And I have never run into that conversation, you know, tell me what certifications you have. In fact, I'll go a step above that, in that I've positioned myself so that I don't really entertain the conversation of answering the question, why should I work with you? Instead, I prefer to help people to experience who I am and what I bring to the table through the experience of coaching, versus trying to explain what coaching may be able to do for them, because I don't know, and they don't know if coaching will work until we sit down and have that conversation about what it is that you're facing, and, you know, brainstorming through those hurdles and what that looks like for each person. It's different. And so my approach is more about serving and doing the best I can to serve others. And in that process, we determine if we click, if we're a good fit, if coaching from me is going to be beneficial for that person, and if working with that person is going to likewise light me up and be beneficial for me. It's a mutually beneficial relationship if we enter into an agreement to coach together. And I digress again. So, you know, can I truly call myself a coach is where I left off. But, you know, what I really loved seeing was how participants from my challenge started to share that these beliefs were shifting throughout the week. And it may not seem like a lot of time, but it's amazing what you can uncover for yourself with a few well-placed questions or a few daily intentional actions that you can take. They started to embrace that coaching is really, from my perspective at least, about connection. And it's not about having the perfect solution. They shared with me that they'd realized taking action, no matter how imperfect it was, is better and produces better results than trying to overthink themselves into inaction. So if you're listening and if you've been holding back for some reason, there's your nudge, right? You don't need to be perfect to make a difference in the life of another person. You don't have to have the perfect answer. You don't have to have the right resource or the perfect solution. You just have to have the desire and some level of knowledge to help another person. And if you have that desire, you can make a positive impact in someone else's life. And here's the truth about it, right? If you're a coach and you're not coaching your butt off and working every day, so each time you coach someone, you're working on improving your coaching skills. You're listening to not just your clients, but you're listening to yourself. And you know when you leave that session where some things are that you could work on improving through that process. So each coaching session, you're learning something. You're supposed to be out there coaching people, coaching your butt off, sharing your knowledge, sharing your questions, your curiosity about someone else, and working to make a difference. And each time you do that, I believe that you can make more of a difference in someone's life, that the difference you can make becomes more powerful, more practiced, if you will, not rehearsed, because I don't ever want anyone to go in. I don't think going into a coaching session with any kind of script is beneficial for either the client or the coach. And if that's your approach, I'm not knocking it if it works for you especially. But for me, I'm working to make a much more valuable, longer lasting impact every time I go into a session. And so I'm genuinely curious about what comes up in each session. And when I leave those sessions, I reflect on not just what was shared with me, but where I could make a bigger impact and more positive influence and bring about more transformation in the future. Those are the things that I work on in each session, and I, continually try to improve. So, all right, let's shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about really some of the powerful insights that came from this challenge that were shared with me as well. One of the things that stood out were the insights around the importance of value-based pricing. I told you I was coming back to this. Instead of pricing on what you think people will pay, I encourage you to start thinking about the transformation that we were just talking about that you're bringing to people's lives. What is the positive outcomes that you're bringing to these sessions and to the people that you're serving? One of the participants shared with me, they put it beautifully, is, and I'm looking at my note here, I know I provide a lot of value and can change a person's life. And isn't that what we just talked about, right? That's what coaching is. It's about changing lives for the better. So if you're struggling with this one, I want to chat with you for a moment. Here's the thing, and I've said it before, it's worth digging into this one again, at least a little bit. You are not new. Maybe you're new to the business of being a coach, or you're new to the title, but you're not new to the world. Chances are, if you're listening to me right now, you already have a tremendous amount of value that you bring to your coaching. You bring that to the table. Everything you've done, all of the challenges you've faced, all of the education you've received, both formal and informal education, all of the training courses that you've participated and taken, all of the different life experiences. I've been divorced 2 times. I'm not proud of that, but I've absolutely learned from those things in the relationships that I maintain, or I don't know what the right word is, but in my relationships, I have applied the knowledge of the lessons that I have learned. In my coaching, I have applied the knowledge of all of the lessons that I have learned in various capacities, and I'm able to share those experiences with people. So I was there. I was right there, right? When I started coaching, I was like, who am I to do this? And what experience or value do I have to offer? And until I started being able to reflect on all of those things that I bring to the table, that inventory list. I talked about it in a previous episode, right? Take inventory of all of those things that led you to where you are today. And that will help you to start seeing the value that you already have to offer. And it might even help you narrow down where it is you want to focus your efforts. So I encourage you, if you've not done that, do a personal inventory. Take the time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or a whole day, to sit down and literally write out all of those experiences, all of those education opportunities, formal and informal, all of the challenges that you've figured out how to navigate yourself or had help with navigating. What did that look like? And all of those components. Take time to write them down. That is a wealth of information, knowledge. Knowledge is power. But more importantly, there's tremendous value in what you're going to uncover. So that value is what's helping people solve their challenges and be able to create transformation in their lives, in their work, and in their businesses. What you offer is life-changing, right? I'm going to say what you offer is life-changing. It doesn't matter whether you've just decided to put the title on or not. Many of the people that I've spoken with have powerful stories and testimonies of all of the things I've just shared. These stories, these experiences are saving countless hours for other people in the form of making the same mistakes that you may have already made before them. For the right person, and remember, we are only ever seeking one conversation, one person, one client at a time. The person who wants badly enough to make the change that you can help them with will be willing to pay you for that change. Again, I understand not everybody's in the position to pay you what you might like to charge. And that's okay. Make a decision as to whether or not you want to be creative and figure out a way that's going to serve them, or if you're going to stick to the price that you have set for your services and figure out other creative ways to serve them. Maybe it's through creating educational content, videos that you can share, or maybe you create an online course that serves a particular audience that might not be a perfect or great fit for your one-on-one coaching or your group program or whatever it is that you're offering. So I want to add in this. I just read this last night in a book that I'm reading, and I don't have it in front of me, so honestly I don't recall the title at the moment or the author, but it's a book on the service-based industry and around selling. Actually, there's the title. It's called Selling the Invisible, and there was a perfect reminder in there about showing up, and it was be where everyone else is not. So I don't know why that stood out to me right this second, but I felt compelled to share it here at this point in the episode, and so I want to pause here and share a little bit more from maybe that thought. So be where everyone else is not. This goes back to the connection piece, and what I see in the world of coaching, especially in the online space. That's where I'm going with this, is the online space. I've talked before about marketing and sales, and I don't think it's not for me. I'll just say that. Online marketing, as far as offering my coaching services, the extent of my online marketing is really sharing this podcast with you. And through my social media channels, I do share these episodes as well, or at least links to encourage people to go listen to these episodes if it's for them. And I'm working very hard to build connections where I see that most coaches are not. Most coaches are looking for the easy way to do business, the easy way to create clients. So they constantly flood their social media feeds with these posts about what they can offer and these posts about what services they have available right now and how they can bring about transformation to you. And I see a lot of the coaching community in that space. Where I don't see a lot of coaches working to make a difference is in-person networking and relationships. So that's where I prefer and enjoy spending my time. That leads to another recurring theme from this past week was the power of connection. Because again, coaching isn't about hard sales or any kind of gimmicks or about any of those things in marketing. It's about having meaningful conversations with people. One participant shared with me how they resonated with Rich Litvin's philosophy, one of the resources I shared, about connecting deeply or not connecting at all. And I happen to align with what she shared with me. And I've shared it here before that my preference is to think about people I want to connect with or people I want to spend time with at my backyard barbecue. And these are people who want to have more than just surface level conversations. Now, I realize that there's a transition from surface level to deeper conversations. They don't always start with, because it's not natural, they don't always start with world problems to talk about. They start with where their comfort level is, and maybe that's talking about the favorite beers or the differences in beers. I go back to that because I'm not a beer snob. I do enjoy a good beer. I spent several years in Germany, and I had some wonderful experiences with beer there. And I'm probably more of a beer snob than others, but I wouldn't characterize myself that way. I just enjoy a good beer. So do I want to talk about the differences in beers, though? Not really. I want to get to more meaningful conversation. I want to get to the heart of different challenges that we see. Why did we find a barrel of cocaine in Cape Canaveral this week? We, being the Coast Guard, reported that they had found a entire drum barrel of cocaine. There was some jokes going around on social media, of course, about it snowing here, being in Florida, that hope you get the references there. And if you don't, feel free to ask. Anyway, that is the foundation for building trust and finding your ideal clients, connecting deeply, getting beyond the surface level with people. And I think the best way to do that, again, is through physical relationships, like networking in person, talking to people face to face. And a good substitution for face to face is through online media, such as, having a Zoom call with someone, because coaching, let's be real, it's an online business, meaning you can do it remotely from just about anywhere in the world. So, those platforms do offer a good means of having a face-to-face conversation, so to speak, while you're not in person. The second best thing I think you can do in person, I believe, is the easiest, most authentic way to connect with other people and build the relationships and work towards identifying ideal clients for your business. So if you're feeling stuck, I made a quick list of a couple of actions that you can take right now, today, start doing for you, your life, your business. Write down your big why. Why do you coach? What drives you? I encourage you to go back and listen to, I think it was episode 2 of this podcast. I talked more about uncovering your why as well in that one, and what it is that you want, because I believe they're tied together. That essentially starts with making a list of 50 things you want. And when you do that, that will lead you to some of the things in life that lead to why you're doing what you're doing. And it's important that you remember you first, right? It's not just about serving others at the cost of sacrificing you. I want you to be prosperous in your world, in your business, in your life, just as much as you want to serve your clients and help them be prosperous. Next one is to identify or define to the best of your ability what your ideal client looks like. Who is it that you connect with? Who is it that you serve best? Who is it that lights you up when you're able to have a conversation? What are the qualities and characteristics? Not necessarily that they're male or female, or that they're in a particular industry, or any of those other things we think of when we think of niche. I want you to define really what are the qualities, right? Are you an action taker? Are you committed to achieving the things which you desire in your life and in your business? Those are the kinds of people that I want to work with, right? Does the world of coaching and online business light you up? Does it energize you? I don't want to work with someone who's not energized by this kind of work, because that's not fun for me. And I want my world, my life, and my business to be tied together, and I want them to be fun. I want them to be filled with love and excitement and enthusiasm. So who is it that you serve best? And then I want to encourage you to start a gratitude practice. I shared this in the challenge as well as a resource per se, and I might have shared it on this podcast. I know I've shared it on the other shows I created at some point, but the gratitude practice, not just for your wins, but for the lessons that come with the challenges you face, because those are wins too. On the other side of a challenge, if you can go back and identify what you've learned, that is a win. So it doesn't matter how small wins might seem or how difficult something may have seemed at the time. If there is a lesson that you've learned, that counts as a win. And I want to encourage you to simply start a practice of, at the end of the day, writing down 3 good things that happened throughout your day. Now, this practice, and I'm going to encourage you, if you're interested to find out more about it, to go do a little homework. But Dr. Martin Seligman, commonly referred to as the founder of positive psychology, he and some colleagues did a study. They implemented this practice in the lives of, I don't remember how many people went through this research, but their group of participants practiced this exercise of 3 good things each day for 1 week. And the significance of the enhancement of happiness and positive achievements in these people's lives was tremendous. In just a week's time, they go on in the research to talk about there was a small segment or subset of that group that went on beyond that and were able to experience even more happiness in their lives. And so I just want to encourage you to incorporate a practice like this in your day-to-day. And it takes just a few minutes and can have significant impacts. All right. I think I shared a lot, and I shared it fairly briefly here, but that was the essence of the challenge. I'm just thrilled that so many people shared with me the journey that they were on this week, the challenges that they've experienced, and some of the setbacks as well as their wins and their expansion of efforts. It's been exciting, it's been rewarding, and I wanted to share that here with you. Again, if you want to know more about what was included in that challenge, the 7 days worth of questions that I asked and reflection questions and the daily challenges, they were fairly simple, being that I didn't want to give more than a bite-sized chunk each day. So there's, not a lot of extra content, so to speak, in that. But I'm putting together that PDF, which those 7 days of questions and challenges, as well as the resources that I provided throughout the week. If that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email at dan@danw.us. That's dan@danw.us. And just put email PDF in the subject line. And as soon as I have that ready, I'll be sure to send you over a copy. Moving on, I realize that we're in December. We're well into the month of December at the time of this recording. It is the 9th, so Monday. You'll hear this tomorrow, hopefully. I'm working on something new, and I know many of you are thinking about how to make 2025 the year you truly step into your coaching business. So that's exactly why I decided to open up 5 exclusive spots for new clients starting in January. I have already made the adjustments on my calendar to ensure that I can accommodate 5 new clients, or we'll say up to 5 new clients starting as early as January. So this is an opportunity to work with me one-on-one with a focus on building your business, offering the help and support that you need in a way that feels aligned and authentic and impactful. And I'll say that these aren't just about coaching. They're about transformation. That's what we've been talking about today. So if you're ready to get clear on your vision, you overcome those distractions or limiting beliefs that have been holding you back, and you're ready to do the work to build the coaching business that you've been dreaming of or desiring in your world, then I'd love the opportunity to speak with you. If you're interested in this, then I'll share more here, but let me just say that I believe this is an unprecedented opportunity. Okay. I'll put it out there like that. If you've ever considered hiring a coach to focus on what matters to you, or you've considered coaching with me at all, then I think this is the perfect opportunity to take that leap and kick off your 2025 with that level of personal support that you desire. And the application's simple. It's always no obligation. In fact, I will meet with anyone who applies for this coaching with me. I'll meet with you for one full 90-minute session as my gift. No strings, no expectations that you'll become a client. We won't only use this time to make sure that it's a great fit for both of us, but we'll work on uncovering those challenges, your desires, and more. It's not about trying to sell you into coaching. There's no sales pitch. It's just a simple, full-blown coaching session. If that feels aligned for you, then I'm going to suggest you don't wait. Go to my website, www.danw.us, and take a moment to complete the Apply to Work with Me application there on my website. It's a simple application that there's no strings and no obligations attached to it. Just gives me some insights on where you are and who you are before we meet. So once you complete that, I'll send you a link to schedule your session. And then we can talk about moving forward from there if it makes sense for both of us. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Success isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things consistently. Whether it's networking with one person at a time, writing down your goals to be more intentional, or just taking 5 minutes to reflect on your progress each day, that 3 good things exercise. Every small step that you take from an intentional action place of being adds up to real results. Thank you so much for being here again today. For those of you that have been along the whole time, thank you as well for investing in yourself, for being a part of this incredible community. And I'm going to say this, if you've loved this episode or there's something in this episode that stood out to you and you know someone who could benefit, share it with them. It will help me bring more people to hearing these things and how they might improve their business. And I paused because I'm really conscious of, I'm really creating this content. And if you've not heard me say it before, I'm just going to say it again here to be clear. I want to create this content, not just to share with you. Really, it's about me and loving what I am creating here, being the content that I'm creating. I wanted to do this to enjoy the process of creating, to enjoy the process of reconnecting or connecting at a deeper level with creativity on a consistent basis. But if it can serve other people and you know someone that can benefit from hearing any of this, then I encourage you to share it with them. It does help me get the word out about this podcast. But again, that's not the goal per se. Don't forget to apply for one of those 5 coaching spots if you're ready to make 2025 your breakthrough year. And until next time, keep showing up, keep taking intentional action, keep working to build the life and